So for this one, we're going to solve for our critical points, or basically put it in standard form, which it's already in. So you have 2x squared plus 4x plus 9 is less than 0, equal to 0. I don't know why I put that less than. Alright, so since it's equal to 0, on this one I'll just use the quadratic formula. You can use any method you want to actually solve this part. So you have x equal negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. We know that here, your a is equal to 2, your b is equal to 4, and your c is 9. Okay, so that's negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared, which is 16, minus 4 times 2 times 9, all over 2 times 2. Okay, so this is going to equal negative 4 plus or minus 9 times 4 is 36, times 2 is 72, 16 times 72 is square root of negative 56, all over 4. Okay, so if we want to simplify it a little bit more, we can have that equal negative 4 over 4 plus or minus square root of 56. That's 4 times 14. 4 times 14i, since it's negative, over 4. So we end up with x equals negative 1 plus or minus, factor out, that becomes 2 square root of 14 over 4i. We can leave it like that because once you get an I there, that's pretty much telling you that you don't have a solution that's going to cross the x-axis. It's an imaginary solution. Okay, so here, we can also tell, since our a is equal to 2, a is greater than 0 means that the parabola is pointed upwards in both directions. It's kind of U-shaped. So it opens upward. Okay, which means if you have your x-axis, this parabola is going to be above it, which means there's no solution on the x-axis. So whenever you solve it and you get a complex solution, then it doesn't have a real solution. So your answer would be no solution in this case. So since we have a complex solution, we know the parabola does not intercept the x-axis. Okay, so there is no solution. Move that over a little bit. All right, any questions on that one? All right, I'll leave that up for a few more seconds. So let's say, for example, you want to solve 2x squared minus 10x plus 12 is greater than 0. And write the solution in interval notation. Okay. Now for this one, we can actually simplify it before we start. Okay. So before, you'd have to use the A times C method or whichever one you happen to think about using. But if you factor out a 2 from each of those terms, you have 2 times x squared minus 5x plus 6 is greater than 0. Now if you divide both sides by 2, you end up with x squared minus 5x plus 6 is greater than 0. Okay, so we can actually use that one instead of this one. All right, so I'm going to let you start on that one for a few minutes. Remember, your first step is to solve for that to equal 0, which will give you your critical points. So for this one, for our first step, we're going to solve our standard form. There we go. Okay, so you have x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. Means you have to find two numbers that multiplied equal 6, and those same two numbers add to equal negative 5. Which 5 and negative 1, nope. 2 and 3. That worked. Negative 2, negative 3. Okay, so that gives us x minus 2 times x minus 3 is equal to 0, which means that x minus 2 can equal 0, or x minus 3 can equal 0.